the question was, well, the guy says, I have a daughter, so does he, Is that the same group?
Yeah.
I have a daughter, so does he. So what do we do? What do we explain to our daughters? And what do we explain to this? And Tom's got daughters, 2 of them. I got 2 daughters, and I got 2 boys. So how dare you talk to somebody like that? What kind of an example is he for a man? And da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so I don't know if, to the people who are the owners who asked the question about daughters, let's overcome that objection together. Yesterday, we're having lunch with Will Guidara, author of Unreasonable Hospitality, who, you have to read this book, but we're having this conversation. Will's a freaking fantastic guy. He ran 11 Madison, #1 restaurant in the world, stud, great operator, sold it. He no longer owns it, and he no longer makes any decisions with the restaurant. The menu changes. I want to make sure I explain that. He hasn't done that since he sold it, which was a few years ago. So the new menu is not his new menu. It's the new person's menu. I asked the question, what movie have you ever watched back to back? Okay. And they're like, what do you mean? Have you ever watched the same movie back to back? What do you mean? You watch it for 2 hours, finish it, you watch it again. Okay. No, I've never done that. Okay. Eric says he watched John Wick back to back, but it's just kind of playing in the background while he's working, right? Mm-hmm. I said, the only movie I've watched back to back is Judge. With, you ever seen The Judge with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall?
No.
Dude, highly recommend you go watch it. Okay. By yourself. Nobody around. Just sit there and watch it. Even on the flight back, watch the movie. I guarantee you're going to get emotional. I guarantee you're going to get emotional. Because the premise of the movie is that Robert Duvall is the father of Robert Downey Jr. They're living in a small town. The father is the judge, okay? And, a kid in school, his son, does something real stupid, his son, and he puts him in jail, I think. Something like that, where he wasn't forgiving him. He was very, very tough on his son, Robert Downey Jr., who got into a car accident with his brother that was supposed to go be a Major League Baseball player, pitcher, gets injured, and he finishes his brother's career. He was that good of a pitcher, right? Mm-hmm. He was going to make it to the next level. It's just the best fight scenes with a father and a son. And then the judge, Duvall, with another kid who did something stupid, he decides to be lenient with the second guy because he feels guilty that he put his son in jail. Mm. And to the second guy, what does he do? He doesn't put him. He releases him and gives him a little bit more freedom. That guy ends up going in, killing a couple people and actually committing a crime, okay? And then eventually, later on, the judge does something, gets accused of driving and killing that guy that got out of jail, okay? Whether it's true or not, you have to watch the movie to see what happens at the end. And guess who ends up representing the father? The son. Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. And they have this best scene, the best fight scene. It's like, why couldn't you just love me? Do you know I finished #1 in my class? Fuck you, Dad. But like that, like it's awesome, right? To the people who say, I have a daughter, and how do I explain this to them? Watch this movie. Because we've all been in one of the situations where we've made a stupid decision, or someone in our family's made a stupid decision, and we wish somebody would have grace with them. Whether it's our kid, whether it's us, whether it's our parents, whether it's our siblings, and we know these people are good people, and sometimes we just deserve grace, right? So this whole concept about, well, how do I explain it to my daughter? You're assuming your daughter's going to walk on water for the rest of her life. You're assuming you walk on water. You're assuming your kids walk on water. None of us do. At some point, what our kids are going to want to see is the level of grace we're going to have. And grace doesn't just apply to kids that we have. Grace applies to people we work with as well. There's a lot of people that need a second chance in their lives. And I just feel a guy like you who potentially could end up losing $350 million plus if you never play ever again. I think the league would miss out on having a guy like you play. I think the fans would lose. I think you would lose the opportunity of being a great testimony in the future for other kids that are acting stupid for you to go and give them counsel and give them feedback. Because someone has to have a big fall like yours to be able to have a better testimony. Because now you have a moral authority to influence younger guys that even they don't have. Because they've not gone through what you've gone through. Yours was more public. So you could come out and be like, listen, guys, here's all I'll tell you. Watch out for this. Don't do this. You're going to want to do this. Don't fall for this. They're going to say this. Don't fall for da-da-da-da-da. Focus on this, da-da-da. And it's like, okay, shit, who else is going to be better than this guy? This guy lost $100 million over 3 years. He came back and played. Yeah, he finished his career, won a World Series, won a Cy Young again, and redeemed himself and one of the greatest stories of all time in the history of sports. Awesome. But he's right. I'm going to listen to him. That's the part for me where, you know, even who was the coach in NFL that he would always give people second chances, and they won 3 Super Bowls. And one of them was with Switzer, but it was really his team. Who was that? Jimmy Johnson. What did Jimmy Johnson get into? Hall of Fame. You ever seen Jimmy Johnson get into the Hall of Fame and he's being surprised how he reacts? I don't know if you saw that video or not. No. Have you seen when Jimmy Johnson, they come up to him, they said, you going into the Hall of Fame? I don't know if we can play it because the YouTube's not going to let us play it because somebody else owns it. So don't show it in the screen. But they come up to Jimmy Johnson and he has no clue. It's in the middle of a show and they say, Jimmy, I'm here to tell you, you're inducted. You could put surprise. You're inducted to the Hall of Fame. You should see how he cries. You should see how he cries. You should see how he's loved.
I think I've seen that video.
Dude, it's awesome, right? This is it. It's right here. Don't play it in the back, but this is it. This is the clip. And they're telling, look at he's shaking, right? He's shaking. Just focus on his body. Look at him. He doesn't even, what is he thinking about right there? All those years, Jerry Jones firing him, you know, you didn't do it. You did this. You look at this. It's pure celebrating. It's pure joy. This man who's in his 60s is officially 14 years old for this 90 seconds. We all relate to this. He made mistakes. He gave players in the NFL second chances. He gave NFL players that screwed up second chances. They love him like a father. Look at Troy Aikman. They love this man like a father. Like a father. I think the MLB has a chance to do that with you. And I hope they do. I hope they give you a second chance. I can't wait to be at that game. If they give it to you, I can't wait to, you know, talk to you about it that night when it happens. I'm like, how you feeling, man? What's the word? What are you thinking about it? I think it'll be a great example of a league that can show redemption and a second chance to other kids who have screwed up, who are about to go pick up drugs and cocaine and alcohol because they've given up on life. I think the MLB can inspire that 14-year-old kid, that 16-year-old kid to say, continue going on. Larry Bird, his father shot himself because he owed so much money to the community. He was a gambler and he was an alcoholic, and his 3 brothers. And Larry gave up on life. And a guy gave him another chance and said, come back and do something. He became one of the greatest players of all time. It's an awesome story. How many people relate to a guy like that could be a drug addict, drug dealer, ruin his life because of his father committing suicide? What a great story Larry Bird is to those people. I think MLB has that chance. And I hope, you know, if they hear this message, I hope they give you that shot because I think it'll make for a great story. So.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope so.
Any final thoughts, Tom, before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think America needs to understand exactly what you just said. I'm only the man I am and the dad I am because I've taken the mistakes I made in life and I've turned that into a body of knowledge called experience. And I can bring that to my daughter with authenticity. And I think authenticity is what America needs. I think it would turn down some of the tension that we have overall. But I think that is something that I think all sports fans remember. And baseball is a symbol of redemption. I can strike out 3 times, but they still want me in the bottom of the 9th inning because I'm still capable. And I think the sport of baseball, just by its nature, is redemption. And I think we need to remember none of us are perfect, and we're the people we are because of what we do with our mistakes. And it's a symbol of the fabric of America. And I think you summed it up perfectly.
Yeah.
I think baseball can use Trevor Bauer to make baseball better.
That's a goal of mine. I've always wanted to make the game better, leave it in a better spot than I found it. I think I've accomplished a small part of that on the training side, but I've, you talk about decade runs, I have another decade run in me to help in a lot of other ways. I'd love the opportunity to be able to do that.
Can't wait for that day. I remember when we got the call when I was in Bermuda and the, a lawyer said, Pat, you're officially a minority owner of the Yankees. it was a dream. I couldn't believe what happened. And my son was watching. The only documentary Dylan ever cried in was the documentary of Yogi Berra. You ever watched it? Mm-hmm. I had to go watch it again. I had to go watch it immediately. I'm like, what happened to this documentary? Like, what a freaking story. You know, even Yogi's a story where they eventually had to make up, him and Steinbrenner not coming back to the game. But yeah, so if a guy like me can go from where I was at, and some of you don't know my background, who I was, what I did, to where I'm at right now, that's why I love baseball. Baseball is a spiritual game. It's a very unique game, very, very unique game. And I think baseball's got a big chance here to do something big.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.